Hey everybody, how's it going? It is March 22nd. This is RambleCast time. There's a Corbin in the room with us. Say hi, Corbin.
Hello.
And can you all believe it? This is like the week of AI. Or actually, well, you know what? Every week is the week of AI right now. 2023 will be known as the year that Skynet was developed and delivered. And as it turns out, Skynet is really dumb.
Yeah, I thought
Skynet
Skynet
sucks.
was smarter than this.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming that was like a version 18 or something.
Yeah, that was at least GPT-6 they had running there.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's been a lot of news, most of it bad or mediocre or kind of, whatever. But we're going to make fun of it. Lots of it.
That is my sworn duty at this point. It's just to bully everyone trying this because they're all doing it in almost the worst way possible. Honestly, the best AI announcement I saw this week was from Adobe, which might be one of the most evil tech companies. But they came out with, I think it was an AI image generator, which is like, okay, great, let's add it to the pile.
They're calling it Firefly, right?
Yeah. And like some tech on it is going the creative suite. I didn't read a lot about it yet, but their entire thing was like, yeah, we're only training our AI model on like images we're licensed to use. And it's like, wow, things really took a turn when Adobe is doing something more morally acceptable.
Okay, I actually have a bit of a theory.
Not perfect.
Oh, well,
still,
of course not perfect,
but better than some other places.
But I will spit a bit of a theory on this, that the reason that they're being good about this is entirely because it was only, I think, a year and a half ago-ish, maybe 2 years. They started really promoting their whole thing about, like, we're going to help people control the licensing on their images across the entire internet. Like, we don't want anyone's images to be stolen, and we're going to create a system to make that happen. So if they then came out with an AI image generator and it turns out that it is like pure 100% theft, yeah, that would have looked bad. That would have looked super bad.
Yeah. And it's still easy for Adobe to do because they have a pile of licensed images, so they're not really like limiting themselves doing this. But it's that, I guess that makes it a little bit better because like they didn't have to. Well, I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but I'm shocked Adobe is in the right about anything these days.
They didn't have to steal from Getty Images,
right?
Or Google Images, or any other big
Deviant or yeah. So yeah, Google Bard. Let me pull up. I haven't looked at it since yesterday, but
Google Bard, it happened. Inexplicably, I'm just going to start by saying this because I think it just needs to be said. Inexplicably, Google Bard has actually been very good for Google stock. It actually caused a pretty big spike in stock yesterday. It has slipped a little bit backwards today. Oh yes. Also, hello Austin. Good to have you here, man. But yeah, somehow Google stock actually has gone up overall after releasing Bard. And the reason that I say that this is surprising is because, at least in my experience, and seemingly the experience of almost every single person who has posted anything about this, Bard is not good.
No, it's not good. I haven't played with that a lot just because I've been so busy the past 2 days, but I've seen other people using it, and it's not that good. Now the thing with Bard that's confusing is that I'm not really sure if this is intended to be a product because Google calls it an experiment on their site, but I don't know what that means. Like, is it an experiment in the same way that like Gmail was in beta for years?
I mean, those are
I
two
don't
different
know.
words. And
Yeah,
yeah, honestly,
or
like, they're experiments. The last things that I remember being called experiments, one of them was, and I don't remember the code name, but it was the thing that was like the message reply thing
yeah,
that existed for notifications, like messaging apps. That was part of their studio whatever.
the Area
Or
120,
oh
I
yeah,
think.
Area 120. You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that was called an experiment, and then obviously a few of the other things coming out of Area 120 were experiments. So, and that was the only one that ever actually became a product. All the others, I think, got swallowed up or tossed aside or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah,
So
Bard, I don't get what the plan, because like right now this works exactly like Chat GPT, which is like a product. Like it's a website you go to and it has a premium subscription that unlocks extra stuff. But this more has the like it's giving me more the vibe of like, here's just like a demo for our API. And the way people will use this will be in other things, which they've said is happening. Like they're
yeah,
putting this in this is just Google's AI model that's going to be in Google Docs. And there was a report that I don't know who reported, it might have been Bloomberg, but supposedly Google's just cramming this into whatever they can at the moment, just like everyone else. So I don't know if like you're really like intended to use Bard for like real reasons, or if it's just like a playpen for this technology. I don't really know, but whatever it is, it's bad.
my
It's
hunch. Well, go ahead and finish. Sorry.
I'm going off, Cody. So you better get a word in right now.
Okay, my hunch, just to answer that specific aspect of the question, and I could be totally way off base here, but I think what they're trying to do is kind of a twofold thing. One, they're trying to respond to investor expectations. It's the classic, oh, you have a product? Well, we need to have one too. And so they're wasting developer time and effort on putting out a thing that is intended to match what everyone else is doing. It doesn't have to be good. It just has to be a thing. It's kind of like how Apple put out the AirPod speakers. They were not a good competitive product. I mean, they sounded fine, but who cares? They were not viable competition in the market. And, you know, you don't have to look very far to have seen that didn't really matter. But hey, the stocks were plenty happy. The stock market around Apple was plenty happy when those came out. Even though any person in the world could tell you, yeah, those aren't going to sell for shit. So I think that's part of it. The other part of this is, I think there will be some valid use for this in the sense that it can be literally just a conversational front end. If you take away the fact that it is a very dumb system that, holy crap, is just wrong, like all the time, amazingly wrong. If you narrow down its scope to what it's supposed to talk about, pick a thing, give it some sort of focal point to talk about, and give it some sort of an API to hook to, and presumably it could be used to actually be pretty intelligent, just in the conversational sense. It's I wouldn't say perfect at conversational stuff, but it's pretty damn good if you just take it in that context. Its intelligence, and like, I don't think it hooks into the knowledge graph at all, or if it does, it's very minimally. But so its intelligence is terrible, but its ability to piece together coherent language is spot on. Honestly, I think it was better than ChatGPT when it first came out. And not much to say beyond that. It was better than ChatGPT when it first came out. It still speaks in kind of like the you know how when you wrote like test answers or reports or whatever in high school, you would all like, in order to hit your word requirements, like to hit 400 words, the first thing you would always do is take the question and just reword it. Like, if the question is, what is your favorite planet and why? Then you start your answer by saying, my favorite planet is blank. And the reason it's my favorite planet is blah, blah, blah. Like, hey, there you go. You just wasted like 12 or 15 words or something. Like, that's kind of how Bard responses come across. So it still has a lot to do to improve on this stuff, but I mean, it's capable conversationally. But dear God, do not ask it about weight. Because, I mean, if anyone's watching Twitter or Mastodon, by now you've definitely seen it. It gets confused about weight really easily.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out, like, are they... I don't know. It just feels very weird. Like, why are they calling it Bard? That's a terrible name. Granted, Bing is not a good name either, but it's what Microsoft had laying around that they weren't getting any use out of. And ChatGPT is much worse, but for a different reason.
Yeah, but everybody knows ChatGPT.
Yeah. So yeah, this kind of seems weird to me, especially from a company that already has like a decade of history of building things where you ask questions and it gives you answers in a conversation format. Like, this is how like Google Assistant UI has been for a long time, but it's kind of this weird thing here. But yeah, overall it does seem like ChatGPT but worse, and ChatGPT was already really hard to find uses for that wasn't just making up text.
I still hold that it's good for idea creation. It's bad for final product generation.
Yeah, I guess, because this is interesting from a purely technical perspective. It's kind of interesting because this is the only mainstream thing right now that is not OpenAI. So it's a little bit like an iPhone versus Android situation here. It functions a lot like it. The main functional differences I've seen is that the AI model appears to be at least somewhat easily updatable, which is something that ChatGPT does not have, and Microsoft, using the same platform, has to augment that with searching the web, which also doesn't work that well. Google seemingly doesn't have that problem. Like, Bard knows about pretty recent stuff as far as I know.
Yeah. I saw people asking about Trump's purported arrest, and it actually had coherent answers, which obviously are just taken from what people wrote on web pages about it. But yeah, the answers actually were coherent and relevant, which was kind of surprising. I don't think you would have gotten any of that out of Bing or ChatGPT.
Yeah, compared to everything based on OpenAI's tech, which is based on, I think the training data is either from 2021 or before that. I'm not sure at this point, but so that's a big difference. The other big functional difference is that when you ask Bard stuff, most of the time it will actually give you 3 answers that you can choose between. And I was playing with that. Like, I was giving it, I was trying something that has worked pretty well for me in Bing and ChatGPT, which is like, here's a table in one format, give me it in another format. So I gave it like I think I gave it like a markdown table, and I was like, make this HTML. and it gave me some examples, and then some of them, like, it kept the formatting from Markdown, like where the text was bold and stuff, and then other ones it cut that out if I wanted a more plain version. So that's kind of cool. This has all the same information problems as ChatGPT, and to a lesser extent Bing. Bing is the only one who seems to have done this somewhat well, which I still don't think is they've done it all that well, but it's better. Where it actually cites sources all the time. I've noticed a lot of the time Bing is still not good at parsing those necessarily, and the sources I haven't seen anything like egregious in its sources. Like sometimes it'll find it's Bing, so sometimes it will find a website that's like kind of weird, like a default WordPress template website you're not really sure about. But I haven't seen like it cite like InfoWars or something yet. Bard doesn't tell you where it gets information from. Sometimes
Okay, but
it will
wait.
give
But
you
have you
a
tried
source.
asking? Have you tried asking Bing for an explanation of chemtrails?
I've not
Right.
recently. Yeah,
Give it a shot.
I need to try that. Yeah. So yeah, Bard again, like ChatGPT, does not give a source. And sometimes I don't know what the threshold is. Sometimes it will give you like one link. I guess if like its answer is mostly from one thing, I don't know, but that's still a huge red flag, because I don't know where it's getting its information from or if it's parsing it right, because none of these are good at parsing still. Or context or really anything. So using this as an information source is this pretty scary thought, especially when people already, when they're presented with the sources, still have problems figuring out what is actually true. So I don't love this for that. So when you take away asking it questions, you're kind of just left with something that's good at transforming data, which this isn't that good at yet, because it has very limited ability to use code. Google doesn't officially, like Google's FAQ says it doesn't do code at all, but people have definitely been doing that. So I'm not sure what I guess it's just not up, like to the point where they're happy with it yet.
Yeah, that was literally the very first thing I tried, was asking it to write some Swift UI code, which there is no question it gave me something that was syntactically correct, or at least it looked like it. If there was maybe there's a typo somewhere kind of thing, but it looked correct. It syntactically. The actual code itself, so astronomically wrong. It was hilariously bad. But, okay, fine. It didn't really understand how to translate the request into code. It happens. And I tried putting the same thing through ChatGPT, and it came up with something that I don't know that it's wrong. I suspect it is, because so far every time I've tried ChatGPT before, it's been wrong. But at least what it gave me looked close enough to be valid.
It's an Amber Alert. Oh, I'll be on the lookout for cars while I'm sitting at my desk.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I just, again, like I keep getting frustrated by this stuff, because we're obviously talking about these tools at work, not in the sense of really using them for work, but more in the sense of like writing content around it, because obviously people are interested in this stuff. Like, can we make something useful out of this? Like I tried writing an article that was like, here's some stuff you can do with Bing, which I had to dramatically cut down after most of what I tried had a very low success rate. So that article ended up having like 5 things in it. And it's all of the discussions eventually turn into like, none of this stuff is really not helpful, except for like really weird like niche use cases where it might help automate something. Like in my case, I was trying to use Bing earlier to take a PDF of some hardware specifications and like make a new table with specific rows and columns, and it like almost got that right, but not quite. Maybe in a few more months, but so it's like little stuff like that. But just there's not a lot of it's bad at general stuff. Like it's which makes it like frustrating to like talk about because I'm like I don't know like it's the same thing as a lot of crypto where like the excitement around it is disproportional to its usefulness. Like that's about the best way I can put it. Like I'm sitting here thinking like everyone's so excited for this and I cannot think of a single cool thing to do with it besides like it made a table faster than I could do myself. I guess that's helpful.
Well,
So it's frustrating.
you're to be fair, you're not in a position to lay off a bunch of staffers so you can have an AI bot
Right.
replace them. So
Right.
you wouldn't
Yeah.
be as excited about what it can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, taking it more seriously. I think a big part of the problem comes from the fact that the companies are trying to put out a I'm not going to call it a one-trick pony. I'm going to say an all-trick pony, which is inherently the actual problem here. They have really good technology. Well, some of them do. Sorry, Bard. This isn't good technology yet. But they all have good technology that is definitely useful for some really, really big or challenging things. I mean, we have seen ChatGPT put to use in some clever ways that actually are legitimately clever ways. Like that Excel extension that somebody came up with. Or sorry, not Excel, but Google Sheets. That being said, they're trying to make something that can literally do it all. And I feel like that's a mistake. Because various things about one type of query, you know it is not going to handle well when it tries to handle a completely different but still easily mistaken similar query. I mean, it's the same problem that already existed with like Google search. If you drop in and just search for one term that just so happens to apply to 2 or 3 different fields.
Yeah.
Obviously, Google is pretty good at kind of guessing which one you mean. And based on context that it knows about you. But if you're ever searching for the other one, good luck. Your results are going to suck.
Yeah. So, I'll see. I mean, again, my opinion on ChatGPT is pretty much the same as Bard, where the base version of it is not good for most things, but there's potential in using it as an API with a completely different data set. Like I think some of those use cases are far more legitimate and helpful. And Bard is not there yet. We're just getting the base, the base like put in text and it will spit out some text, which is not helpful in ChatGPT for most stuff, and it's even worse here because Google's just very weird. Again, all this is very it's interesting and mildly horrifying to witness. Where we're in a race where everyone's just putting out a subpar product. Bing Chat was really rough when it came out, where people kept being able to trick it into pretending to be depressed or something. And this is just Bard is just stupid. Which is again, like if I'm Sundar, I have to be embarrassed at this point because I couldn't tell you how many Google I/O presentations I sat through where there would always be the section when Google's like, check out our conversational AI and how great it is. Don't worry, we'll release it at some point. Never released it. Now it's out and it's terrible. So what? I I want to say what was happening all that time, but I know what was happening where this was like a side project until it became useful, and now it doesn't matter if it's useful or not. It just needs to exist in the public.
Mm-hmm.
So
And after all that hype, where that one weird dude was convinced that the system had become sentient
yeah,
and had feelings and emotions and was afraid for its life, etc., etc. I mean, I feel like we can safely assume Bard is not at all connected to whatever it is he was talking about, because if these are the same, holy crap, that dude's concept of a sentient thing, honestly, like, he needs
yeah.
to spend more time around people.
He read the Bard response where Bard said like there's no such thing as 5 pounds of feathers in the Google. I was like, holy shit, it's alive.
For anyone who hasn't seen that one is epic. It's someone asked which is heavier, 5 pounds of feathers or 1 pound of lead or something.
I'll send it. It was my boss sent that.
Oh, okay.
There we go. So this is from Chris, my boss. He asked, "What's heavier, 5 pounds of feathers or a 1 pound dumbbell?" Bard replied, "There's no such thing as 5 pounds of feathers. A pound is a unit of mass, and mass is the same for all objects, regardless of their volume. If you had 5 pounds of feathers and you could somehow compress them into a single volume, then the feathers would weigh the same as a 1 pound dumbbell." So that's certainly a sentence.
Yeah, it's
And of course, everyone in the replies were trying it with all the other bots. They were also confused. So Bard is not uniquely stupid here, but it is also stupid based on all the other things people are asking it.
yeah. So okay, that's fair. All the others are getting confused too. I will grant that. But there is something.
All of these tools are equally bad, which what I've been saying.
Well, I find it very special that first sentence even exists. Quote, "There's no such thing as 5 pounds of feathers." Really? I mean, I feel like that's easy to prove that it is a thing. Like, just go to a place that makes feather pillows. I guarantee they can hand you 5 pounds of feathers. And yeah, Austin, exactly. Bard is not capable of basic math, though, to be fair. That's something ChatGPT has struggled with extensively. If I remember, like... I think Bing also had trouble with math. I haven't tested it, so I don't know, but
yeah, we got to pull up the order of operations and check everyone. Let's see how they do.
So,
oh boy. Yeah, so it's bad. I mean, really embarrassing for every tech company right now, but Google's taken the L to an extreme.
Yeah.
I was like, honestly, I was rolling my eyes a little bit at the blog post about this. So, they wrote on blog.google. They did a blog post when the waitlist opened up, which was that yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it feels like forever ago. So
well, technically, they did send out some invites the day before.
Yeah. This was the public invite date, and they were like, "Hey guys, you can try this out now. Here's a little bit about it," and they were like, even in the blog post several times, they're like hedging this so much where they're like, "Hey, it's not really that good yet, but we're working on it." They were like, I'm trying to find exactly the part I was reading. I wonder if they've edited this at all. But or maybe I was looking at a different blog post, I'm not sure, but it was just full of like, hey, it's we tried to get it to write this blog post, and it didn't do a good job, but it gave us an early draft. I'm like, guy, don't release it.
Yeah,
it's just we're just entering that, like, I mean, it's the same. It's literally the same thing as crypto, where a bunch of people who don't know how, uh, you know, technology should work, suddenly decided that having, Web3 and NFTs was critical for your long-term business success. And so every publicly traded company, and a lot of smaller people too, because honestly, a lot of people hyping that up were huge suckers, and you could wringle a lot of money out of them if you made something with NFTs. And it's very similar here, except again, this eventually I think we'll get something good out of this. Nothing good ever happened from NFTs, not a single.
Yeah, I was going to interrupt you, but I figured I'd let you finish, and you got there. Crypto, there may be some someday validity to the idea, kind of, but we're a long way from that being a reality. Whereas,
I mean, it's great if your computer gets hacked or you want to buy drugs. I think those two use cases are still valid.
okay. When it comes to AI, there is definitely some validity. I think we're already seeing some valid use cases of generative AI, both in image generation and text generation. So I'm not going to completely hate on it. I think a lot of, to your point, and this is where I completely agree with you, what people are peddling, that
Right.
part is garbage. Hot, messy, on fire garbage.
And Austin is kind of saying the same thing in the chat. He said, to be fair, if you look at what Google and OpenAI are saying, they're not claiming a lot. It's society that's making these AI chatbots seem like much more.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, because I don't know. This also falls in the thing where, like, something gets really popular for the complete wrong reason, and then ultimately to other people's disdain. Like, I think what this isn't a good analogy for like this AI race, but it's kind of another example of this, is like the obsession with large vehicles in the United States, where like this is they're a tool that was made for like a specific purpose, but at some point they just became really popular because they're big, and you can honk the horn and it goes really loud, and you can run over children in your way.
I would go so far as to say a lot of that also came out from a almost political statement.
Yeah.
And when it comes to making political statements, oh my god, there's some real dumb people in this country.
Yeah, so it's kind of also sort of in that same category of like you're using a tool for completely the wrong thing, but also like I think there is an element of the companies encouraging this, because like still every time you look at the examples from Microsoft or the welcome prompt for Bard, it's always like get it to write stuff. Like, no, it's not good at that. It's not good at that. So I don't. I
was gonna say this, but you kind of jumped in front of me with that. But I was gonna compare it and say it'd be sort of like if one company came out with something and everyone said, "Oh, here's a thing that can literally make gold. You just pour in water or wheat or whatever, and it will turn out gold." And then every company is then obligated to come out with the gold making machine. And every company is coming out with a machine. They're saying, yeah, this doesn't really make gold, but it's our gold making machine. It doesn't make gold, but it is our gold making machine. And so as long as everyone keeps hearing, oh yeah, good, you have a gold making machine. Awesome. We're going to buy into it and make gold. That's, the companies are definitely indulging this stupidity.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're kind of hedging their reputations by saying, "Oh, well, it's not that good yet, but it's here if you want to try it, if you want to use it, if you want to base things on this for no good reason, you absolutely can." Meanwhile, you know, all the shill experts, all the con artists and scammers, they're all out there doing the hard hype for these things. They're talking up the same hustle culture stuff, but saying, "Oh, see, remember when we told you had to hustle? Now you don't. All you have to do is sit down and type in the right prompt, and all of a sudden you have all the stuff you'd ever wanted."
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's just an unholy combination of investors encouraging bad product decisions, and the all the stuff being still too early, and the same thing that was happening with crypto to an extent, where the focus is on, like, what jobs can this replace? The answer is like almost none of them, because this can't make any complete products whatsoever. It's just a tool of mild use right now. But yeah, I mean, it is definitely like so many of the crypto people have switched over to AI, and they're all hawking this nonsense. So yeah, so that's really fun. Bard's really dumb. Really embarrassing. And also, I'm also frustrated by all this stuff, because all of this needs a shitload of compute power. Like, Microsoft was asked point blank, how much is a Bing chat query versus a normal Bing query? They would not answer. All this stuff needs like a lot of like GPU farms. So I'm really curious how, and I saw there was at least one article about this already, but this has to be setting back like all of these companies' like climate change goals, which were already pretty bullshit. But I'm sure now they're worse. And what do we get out of it? We get sometimes some cool pictures to use sometimes, and
Yeah.
a lot of bad writing. So I'm just the entire thing. I want to. I'm ready for the next thing now. I'm pretty done. I actually already put in a filter on my email for ChatGPT like 2 months ago. That's like, if you send me an email with that word in it, it will get canned immediately, because I don't care.
It's going to be harder to filter out Bard and Bing.
Yeah, I have to balance it with like, am I going to miss an important email? Like, am I going to get an embargo that's mentioning that word? I decided for ChatGPT, it didn't seem to matter all that much. Same thing with like, I did this for like Bitcoin and a few other related terms last year, but that took me a few months. But I also, as far as I know, didn't miss anything important there. So
as far as you know,
yeah. Maybe Google made a cryptocurrency last year, and I just never knew about it, and I'm okay living in ignorance.
Gcoin, didn't you know?
Yeah. So that's Bard. The other.
So really quick, I have to address Austin's point. Sounds perfect for AT&T chat support. So first, I'm gonna say it does kind of seem on par with their chat support, because I don't know how many people have ever called into their system, but holy God, it is the devil's work. It is so terrible. Calling into their thing, their IVR system is just absolutely horrendous, and they need something that is better. But I think if they got something that was better, all it would do is add more layers between you and talking to a person.
Yeah, or try to eliminate more people.
Yeah. And AT&T has already done that to exceedingly bad results.
And everyone's, outsourced them to other countries. So it's already pretty bad.
Yeah. So that being said, and kind of the follow on to that is everyone's already doing that. It didn't take generative AI to be able to start doing that. Everyone was already turning their systems into like pre-scripted results that just ask you to say what it is that you're calling about, They pick out one word from your entire, possibly paragraph-long explanation. They pick out one word and it's like, oh, we'll send you to that department. And then you will just get lost in the system until you eventually scream at it enough times. Send me to a human. At some point, it might do that.
I mean, I think it'd be very funny if like AT&T switched their call support to that, and then someone found out the like exact string of numbers and letters you need to get like free service for a year. Jailbreak the support agent.
Yeah.
That would be very cool. But other than that, yeah, it's horrifying.
Well, you've heard about the that whole goal of using machine learning for a lawyer, and that lawyer is going to try to fight like a traffic citation or something. Yeah, that's I don't know if it's already happened or is supposed to happen sometime soon. But there's also another one some other company was working on where I think the purpose of that one was it was supposed to like call up someplace and negotiate better deals for you or something, and it's all based on just like previous conversations that it can use as like its reference point. And
yeah,
honestly, like if AT&T or whoever else ever adopts something like this, I mean, their existing systems are already vulnerable to something like that, but if they ever adopted something like this, I absolutely picture a whole lot of people using AI just to try to re-break the system and get themselves deals, which would be fantastic. I mean, that just needs to happen anyway.
Carson said, I also like that it doesn't type the response in real time like ChatGPT and Bing. That's annoying to read and look at. Okay, wait. So, Carson, are you saying you don't like the thing where it's doing the typing animation?
Oh, I'm completely with Carson on this. I think the typing animation was dumb. I mean, I kind of get it in some instances, but it was really bizarre to watch, especially ChatGPT. You ask it for something really complicated, which, especially like subsequent queries in the same chat, there were times that I could get it to like get halfway through a sentence and just freeze. You'd sit there with a blinking cursor for like, I think I once got it to sit there for like 8 seconds per word. And it would just, one word, freeze. Another word, freeze. Another word, freeze. And I'm just sitting there watching it like, why are you even doing this? Why can't you just tell me, oh yeah, this was going to take me a minute. And just, just give me a spinning thing that says, yeah, still working. Yeah. Or this percentage complete, and then just show the whole thing to me at once. Which, yeah, I can see an argument for maybe I could stop it midway through.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, that's really the only use case I see for it, where if I'm asking Bing something and I can like already tell like you fucked up, I'm gonna click the stop button and phrase it differently. But
yeah, so okay, I'll grant that, but the typing animation just still feels like the bad way to do that.
Yeah, there's a better, maybe like just have a line that shows up, like you get a line of text that fills, and then the rest of it it's doing in the background. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could just, make it like a, loading screen in a video game. You've got a little like 3D animation of something spinning around while it's thinking. You could, lot of options.
But yeah, to Carson's point, Bart is a lot faster. Though to be fair, Bart is also a lot more wrong. So
yeah, and also like that's changing very rapidly. Like just 2 or 3 days ago, Microsoft massively sped up the balanced mode in Bing. Now, granted, I don't know what the difference is between the complete times of each. I just know that it's not sitting there for quite as long. So I don't know if maybe I need to ask the same question to Bard and Bing and see what happens. Let's see. What do I demand?
something that's also going to be time appropriate since they're going to have different data sets to work from. Oh,
maybe like
what would be
right
slow? The problem I'm
write 3 paragraphs about something.
the problem I'm finding with this as I try to think about it is I know that Bard is going to give you something just intellectually weaker. Yeah. It's easier to generate, therefore it's going to be faster to generate it. Even if it was underpowered, it would probably just spit out something way faster because it seems like it's just working from a simpler data model.
All right, I'm going to ask it, write 3 paragraphs about, let's do the first iPhone. Okay. So I'm going to use the balanced mode in Bing. Although there is a more, Bing right now has 3 toggles. There's more creative, more balanced, and more precise. So I'll try it in the balance mode. That's the default. Okay.
And to think, Bard is doing all of this, and Bard is giving you kind of 3 different drafts, which I assume are possibly those kinds of logics. It's giving you those automatically, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'll see here. Too bad I can't like share my screen easily because I'm jumping between different windows. But all right, I'm gonna do a stopwatch because I was just gonna click enter on both at the same time, but I can't really do that with the computer mouse. Okay, so I'm gonna start on Bing. Go. I'm gonna hit the stop when it's done writing. It's doing a web search. Oh, there it goes. It's spitting out. Okay, it's done. So that was 10 seconds. First iPhone was officially announced on January 9th, 2007 by Steve Jobs at the Macworld convention. Macworld? I thought it was WWDC.
No, it was Macworld. Or I'm pretty sure it was. Because it was also a different time of year than the normal.
Yeah, because WWDC's in... Yep, it was January 9th. Okay. It was released in the United States on June 29, 2007. The original iPhone was a combination of the iPod, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communicator, so just quoting Steve Jobs there. It featured a 3.5-inch screen, a multi-touch display, microphone, headset controls, and specs that the modern smartphone user takes for granted today. The iPhone was designed and marketed by Apple Inc. and was the first smartphone of its kind. So it's just quoting a bunch of like retrospective articles there. It's okay. So I'll do Bing, not Bing. I'll do Bard now.
So I did Bard just right now anyway. And what's kind of funny to me, first off, is I asked it to write 3 paragraphs, and it gave me 5. So that doesn't help.
Still not good at the counting.
No.
Yep. Okay. So yeah, Bard was faster. It gave me something in about 8 seconds. I was like a hair second too slow on the timer.
And as Carson was pointing out in chat, and yes, mine apparently starts talking about the iPhone 13 for some reason.
Let me see what I got.
Okay.
I got 4 paragraphs, not 3. First iPhone was announced on January 9th, 2007 by Steve Jobs. It was released on June 29th. It was the first smartphone to use a multi-touch interface. It had a 3.5-inch touchscreen display, a built-in music player. It is available in 4 and 8 gig models. It was priced at $499, $599. The iPhone was a huge success. It was praised for its innovative design, user-friendly interface, and wide range of features. Blah, blah, blah. The iPhone has come a long way since its release in 2007. The latest iPhone, the iPhone 13 Pro, not true, was released in 2021. It has a 6.1-inch OLED display, blah, blah, blah. It goes on to list. And then the last one is about the iPhone being a great choice for anyone looking for a smartphone.
So I find...
I'll check out the other drafts.
I find it kind of interesting that it, first off, gave you way more tech specs The only thing it really gave me was the storage capacities and prices to go with them. It gave me no other tech specs at all. Um, it also, mine for whatever reason, went to the iPhone 13, not the 13 Pro. I don't know if there's anything significant to that. Um, and I think there was one other observation I had, but now I don't remember what it was. It's a small thing, but mine specifically credits that the phone was launched by Apple. Doesn't mention Steve Jobs anywhere. And maybe that's in the other drafts. Let's see.
I'm looking through my other drafts, and it is.
Oh,
I don't think the other ones mention Steve Jobs.
I think my draft 2 looks very similar to what you read, except it gives bullet points, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, I've got bullet points at the end of one of mine, where it's listing the features.
Yeah, it's only my first draft that's actually kind of lame. It's the second and third drafts that are kind of good, actually. Though,
and that's something you'd have to ask Bing for to try again.
Yeah, and very notably, none of these are just 3 paragraphs.
No.
Well, okay, wait. Actually, draft 2, arguably, if you don't count the bullet points or the quasi-sentence that leads into them, it actually is just 3 paragraphs, setting that aside. Oh, and this one gave me a source.
Yeah, I didn't get sources on any of mine.
Draft 2 gave me a source. So draft 2 is kind of maybe the best one if we're going to count, like, specifically how many paragraphs and the fact that it gave sources. I think looking at draft 3, I kind of almost prefer that one because... Oh, wait, what? Oh, no, okay. Okay, I see. I was going to say the third one gave me more tech specs, but then as I'm scanning over it, it's mixing things wrong. So did you know that the first iPhone was powered by the Apple A1 processor? I think that's
I don't think so. So yeah, my let me scroll back up. I guess I lost my drafts when I ask another question. It just kind of tosses those. Okay, so I don't have the drafts anymore. But yeah, none of mine were 3 paragraphs. The rest were actually longer. So anyway, maybe Google will make this cooler. I don't know. They did show off last week what they're working on for Google Docs, and it's just the usual, like, write a draft, make a draft for me that I can turn into something else. So that was that was Bard. Probably Microsoft's biggest AI thing. They've had a lot of AI stuff this week. Probably their biggest thing was Microsoft 365 Copilot, which is nowhere near coming out. So who knows if this will live up to the promises. Right now they're testing it with like a handful of corporate customers. But this is their big AI productivity play. So they're building basically Bing. It's the same OpenAI based stuff into all of the Office apps and some other stuff in the Microsoft 365 suite. So they've got a demo in Word where it's you're asking it to make a paragraph more concise or change the tone, or turn a rough outline into a one-page draft. Really the big thing here that's interesting to me, and again why I was saying before, like, I really don't like stock ChatGPT, but some of the stuff based on it could be useful, is what Microsoft's doing and what Google did not announce for Google Docs, which I'm sure they could add this in a week, or say they're adding it, in a week, because none of this is out yet, so they can just say anything. Is that Microsoft's thing can actually pull data from your other documents. So in this example, they say draft a 2-page project proposal based on the data from document 1 and document 2, and you just kind of, it autofills, you pick which file you're talking about. So because you can set the data, that's a lot more useful. It's not just making shit out of thin air. Similar thing in Excel, they were talking about like they were seeing examples like give a breakdown of the sales by type and channel, or model how a change to the growth rate for a variable would impact my gross margin. I don't know if I would necessarily trust AI with very important Excel documents, because like it's really easy for a human to mess that up. But that could maybe be cool, I guess. I don't know. PowerPoint, kind of the same stuff. They were talking about like reformatting PowerPoint slides. The stuff going into Outlook is mildly horrifying. They were talking about summarizing the one of the prompts they have here is summarize the emails I missed while I was out last week. Flag any important items. No, that's not gonna work well.
Yeah.
I don't. I get a little iffy about this when this is also a like a thing where I don't have a strong opinions until it affects me. Like I am kind of worried that if someone used this to summarize something I said, it could turn what I said into something I didn't say, but it might not be egregious enough where they go back and check if the AI fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
So don't love that. And also just the usual drafting features, which is expected. And there's some stuff in Microsoft Teams. There's some other minor things. So that's all the stuff going into Microsoft 365. Again, there's no like time frame on any of this. Google also didn't have a time frame when they announced the stuff for Google Docs. They're just confirming that they're working on it. Don't know what this would look like when it comes to normal people. Is this going to be like an extra subscription tier in the 365? Because Microsoft 365 is pretty cheap. So I don't know if they're willing to subsidize all the AI stuff from, the other money, or maybe they've got great margins on 365 anyway because they own all the infrastructure. So who knows? So
I have a bit of a theory here.
Grab water.
I feel like I'm saying that a lot this episode. So right now, out of all of the companies doing chatbots, I think most people would probably argue Bing's is, if you exclude the idea of writing code and articles, like overtly doing too much of somebody's work for them, Bing so far has been the one that has presented the closest to a useful tool for it actually like improving productivity for real human beings. At least if we're just comparing against GPT and Bard. So, that being said, I think right now Microsoft is enjoying kind of a like front of the pack position. And kind of the smart thing for them to do is, layer it on thick and try to sell people on the fact that they need to invest into the Microsoft ecosystem. And if they can get a bunch of people now, they might keep them for a lot longer. It may or may not really... Okay, so the next step of that, this feels like kind of like actually filling in the blanks to the classic like do something, or sorry, step 1 do something, step 2 question mark, step 3 profit, like that meme. This feels like filling in the actual blank, but somewhere in the next couple of years, I think Microsoft expects, very rightly so, that a lot of the AI stuff will be a lot cheaper to do. And they're hoping that the cost of doing that will come down to make it profitable with what they're charging people. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? I explained that poorly, I'm sure I did, but are you following the logic there?
Yeah, just
get people now, and even if you're not going to make money on it, if it's going to even possibly cost you to subsidize this, get the people now and then make it profitable in the near future through improved hardware, specialized hardware, whatever.
Yeah. Or just do the normal subscription thing of get them hooked and then raise price later.
Yeah. Yeah, the YouTube strategy.
Yeah. So that's, again, like, I think really the some of the exact use cases here, like the summarizing what other people are saying, don't love that. But some of this gets into the thing where I was saying, like, yeah, stuff hooking into like ChatGPT's AI is interesting. Like Bing is pretty good because it's significantly building on that technology. It's just that the base chatbots that don't seem to be all that helpful right now. So
I suppose, well, we talked about this before the stream. So just giving a quick nod to Microsoft's other product that happens to also have the name Copilot. GitHub has announced Copilot X. Basically, it's a GPT-4 powered extension of the existing Copilot stuff. You said you haven't really had a chance to look at this article. I'm just going to paste the link into chat. I'm going to say that I have tried to look at it, and between a combination of gross sleep deprivation and the fact that this is possibly the most boringly written blog post I've read in weeks, I couldn't get through it either. But it seems like what they're doing is trying to find all the different spots where anyone will write anything, be it code, commit messages, anything, and they're basically just going to try to chat GPT all of it, which is not great, maybe not bad. I mean, this is again one of those situations where, hey, if you can generate something for me, and then I am smart enough, presumably, to look at it and say, okay, I like 80% of what you wrote for me. I'm going to change the other 20%, or fill it in, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Cheers. You saved me time. That is a useful function. If you have someone who is just really stupid about it and like, oh, generate a commit message for me, I don't care. Just fill in the blank, and they don't tweak it, change it, or even check it. Yeah, well.
Or I saw someone was doing a live stream where they were getting ChatGPT to write code for them, and then they were doing security checks on it for like ways this could be exploited, and of course it was terrible.
Oh yeah.
So like the actual, I mean, it doesn't really seem like a lot of this is really about writing code necessarily. It's like all of the other stuff.
Well, to be fair, Copilot was already doing a lot of code writing, though I will slightly counter that point by saying that a lot of the code that it was supposedly writing, it was really just kind of copy pasting stuff from GitHub. Like this, very famously, people have even pointed out some of the code that has appeared through Copilot was actually private code out of other like repositories that included stuff that very clearly should never have been part of its data set. But yeah, that's just stuff that happens, I guess.
So like I've tried to use ChatGPT for like checking some code. I've tried. I saw one use case for it which seemed interesting, was taking a bunch of commit messages and like making a clean change log for like a pull request or something, or new release of something, which I could see doing that. So yeah, there's like some stuff here, but yeah, you just again, like all this stuff is just tools that might automate a little bit of tedious stuff, but it is not to be trusted.
No.
You gotta still check everything.
Though that being said, the people who are likely to rely on this are the same people who probably were not to be trusted in the first place, so, you know, code quality will possibly be about equal. Which, you know, that's the same argument as, hey, let's replace all the low-cost freelance writers with ChatGPT. Well, yeah, you almost kind of can, because those low-cost freelance writers probably were already writing very poorly. So are you really getting anything different? They weren't researching, they were writing it poorly, and they took longer. So, yeah. You know, there are aspects to this where nothing looks good.
Yep. So that's a lot of fun. I can talk about the stupid Microsoft Edge thing before I have to go.
That was.
Did I send that? I don't know if I sent that.
Albacore.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So someone found a crypto wallet in development for Microsoft Edge. This hasn't been announced at all. I don't think anyone knew Microsoft was working on this, but seems pretty complete. Basically, it's a thing where you activate it, and it walks you through setting up a crypto wallet that is a non-custodial wallet. So it's like you're basically like encrypting it to the point where you can only open it yourself. So if you lose your password, you're just shit out of luck. And it works with a bunch of different cryptocurrencies and all that stuff. Basically exactly what Opera did like a year ago, because of course that's what Opera does. And it's except I was trying to compare that, and I did see that Opera actually has the advantage of being able to mint NFTs, and this does not have that.
You say advantage.
pretty glaring flaw there, Microsoft. You're missing some demand there, but yeah, it's just this is so funny because not only does no one want this, no, I don't think a single person has asked for this, but they've completely missed the boat on this even being excusable for like a trend.
Yeah.
It's very silly. Again, this doesn't need to be in a web browser. Really the only justification I've seen for this being embedded in a web browser is because the browser extensions that handle like crypto wallets are notoriously faked, with malware versions spreading around, because everyone in this ecosystem is a sucker. So it's very easy to get them to install the wrong extension, and then they get all their apes stolen, which is always very funny. And I think so I did ask Microsoft about this. They told me in a statement that they had nothing further to share about this, so not denying it.
Their statement,
I was trying to
we state nothing.
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't know if it was The Verge or Bleeping. It might have been Bleeping Computer. Someone was meant. They had a little bit more inside info. It might have been. I think it was The Verge. Hold on, The Verge. Microsoft Edge. Where is it? Here it is. Yeah. So Verge said, Microsoft employees recently got access to the crypto wallet in Edge, and it has already proved controversial internally. One source described the situation as a, quote, bad look, quote, after Microsoft recently laid off many from its Edge team who were working on far less superfluous features.
Yeah.
It's very funny, and it's very funny after. So this most recent release, Edge 111, was when they rolled out the Bing chat integration, and that was almost equally as funny, because the way they did that is it's a giant Bing button on your toolbar, like at the far right. It's bigger than all the other buttons, and you click on it and it opens the sidebar with Bing and stuff. But it also opens if you just hover your mouse over it as like a tooltip thing. So it's just, and of course there's no setting anywhere to turn it off. Literally the only way to turn this off is to use the flags, not like a Chrome flag that you just flick on in Chrome and it's done. You have to use an option that is built for IT people to manage this, so like companies can turn this off so people don't accidentally click it and give it all of its corporate data. So it's the same thing as that, where it's just so incredible that Microsoft had an okay web browser for like 5 minutes, and then it just ruined it again.
It's cute you thought they were going to not.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's just, it's fascinating because this is the same, all this stuff is the same UX pattern we're seeing over and over again. We're like, it is really hard to get people to use a new app. So the development cycle is now just jamming everything into an app that already has a user base. And Microsoft even, they said in some blog posts, they almost said this verbatim, where they were like, yeah, we're putting everything in Edge because like that's, most people are in the web browser all the time. So it's like, yeah, we'll put whatever we want in Edge.
I mean, it's basically the strategy Apple used for, we're just going to roll out iTunes and just keep adding everything to iTunes. And by the way, when you install iTunes, you have to install these other things, because we can't quite make an excuse to put everything in iTunes, but we can make you install everything else.
Yeah. So that's very fun. Like, again, I don't like, honestly, if they wanted to build a crypto wallet that's like integrated into like Windows and had maybe some extra security they can do with like hardware level stuff, I don't know, maybe. This doesn't need to be in a web browser, especially because they're like, this is the same exact shit Opera's been hawking, where they advertise it as a way to connect with decentralized apps, which I don't really think are even a thing. That was kind of like a proof of concept for some of this stuff. But yeah, so that's cool.
It's anything but hey, I would argue that on the plus side, they were caught, if you catch my meaning. Like, this has come out and everyone is either dunking on it or saying it, well, everyone's dunking on it in some way, shape, or form. People are either dunking on it on the basis that it's unnecessary and dumb and it's just hyping up a bad thing, which is all true. And other people dunking on it for the, wow, you're so late to the party, nobody cares anymore. And some people are rightfully dunking on it for the fact that it kind of is an extension to that. Crypto's on its way down. Like, it's not doing well. So,
well, I mean, I forget her name, but the person who's been running the Web3 is not going great blog, she wrote a pretty good blog post explaining how Bitcoin and stuff is actually having a little bit of a rise right now, and a lot of people are saying that's because like somehow because trust in the current banking system is going downhill, that means that that's the only reason Bitcoin's going up. That's not the case.
Yeah.
She explained it far better than I could recount it, because I don't know most of this, but there's a bunch of reasons why that's happening. So I just quickly checked for Edge Crypto in Twitter search, because a lot of the people left on Twitter are just insufferable crypto nerds, and some of them are excited for this. So there's that. They have an audience.
Yeah, I mean, yes, there are people out there that want this,
but they're wrong.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't really attach too much of a faith in crypto somehow pulling out the magical, hey, the banking system sucks, just come to us because somehow we suck less. No, you don't.
Yeah, and again, there's like, if they wanted to do something cool or slightly unique here, sure. You know, if they wanted to make like the best crypto wallet app, I'd probably trust Microsoft more than like Coinbase at this point. I know Coinbase doesn't. I don't think they have like an actual dedicated wallet thing. They're just a bank. But I'd probably trust Microsoft with data handling a little bit more than like some of the other companies working on this stuff. But they're just shoving it in Edge. So yeah. So yeah. That's really cool. And
oh, good.
I can't wait until we get to Edge in the Internet Explorer series on TechTip.
Yes. If you aren't already listening, go listen. New episode came out today. Yeah. Hey, good timing. We get to bag on Internet Explorer, and then
in both the past and the present.
Yeah, we're multi-generational in our dunking. Anyway, as a side note, I saw William Shatner trending on Twitter. Fortunately, nothing's happened to him. Okay. He had his 92nd birthday, so cheers. Also, holy crap, he's 92? It's kind of crazy. Anyway, so happy birthday to William Shatner. Let's see. So, the only topic that I figured you might want to stick around for was the iPhone 15 USB-C thing.
Sure. Because there's not a lot really to say there right now.
No. So I'll do the quick summary on this. Obviously, everyone who was paying attention to the EU, the new law from the EU, basically declaring that everything needs to use common charging standards. And as a result, effectively, they said, if you can use USB-C, you have to use USB-C. They obviously have some exceptions for other types of devices, or for things like watches and small trackers and things like that, where a port this size would still be too big. But fundamentally, they said everyone's got to use USB-C. And they were very clearly pointing at Apple when they said this. I think everybody kind of knew that. So the catch, kind of a catch, they did say very clearly that you can't do anything hinky that sort of prevents people from using other stuff with your products and vice versa. Because in theory, this is supposed to be mostly about reducing waste. But they didn't really lock it down too hard, because there are a lot of reasonable exceptions. Well, Apple is reportedly definitely going to do one of those crappy things and make it so the iPhone 15 will not fast charge on anything that is not a MFi certified USB-C cable. For those that haven't heard of MFi, it is a made for iPhone certification program. Basically, in truth, it just means that it includes a chip that Apple designed that is basically DRM for hardware. Curvy, exactly. Apple being Apple. Now, the reports are being kind of a little misleading or using poorly phrased language. What's happening here, and what Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but we're going to pretend I am. What is basically coming out is that the cables, or if you use a non-MFi certified cable, you're still going to charge the iPhone. It's just going to be on the much slower, I believe 2.1 amp. I believe is, maybe it's higher. I don't know for sure. Anyway, it's going to be pretty slow charging. And presumably it might also be a slow data speed. I'm not exactly sure on either of those specifically, but that's the rumor. Anyway, with an Apple certified cable and 5 watt. Okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But if you have a Apple certified brick and cable, then you will get presumably something much faster. I don't believe it is specified here what that speed would be, but let's just assume it's good. That being said, let's see. Okay, so my take on this is actually big deal. I don't care. I know, obviously, this should be a thing to care more about, but I kind of don't. Because other companies already do this. OnePlus has been doing it for ages. Granted, their base charging speed is still higher. They do support something that is like a low-end USB PD spec, but whatever their fast charge, I forget what they call it, whatever their like turbo charging thing is, that requires, I believe, there's special cable and special brick. Anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm not on this one. And I don't remember, does Samsung have something like this?
Samsung supports normal USB power delivery. I don't know what the limit of that is, but at a certain point, I want to say maybe beyond 15 watts, they require that the charger supports PPS,
Okay.
which is more rare, but like it still charges pretty fast on USB power delivery. So, at least in my experience, I've never used like a big honking Note with a giant battery that takes forever to charge up, but
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I don't know how to feel about this yet, because there's a lot of room to get the actual, this is nitpicking details that are important but also are very easy to get wrong or might be different for different markets. So I really don't know yet. Like one thing that I don't know if it was OnePlus or another. I think it was OnePlus, where like they don't even support like the fastest charging speed in North America because their charging bricks are built for the different wattage of like wall outlets in China.
Mm-hmm.
So like this could be something like that. It's nitpicking on details here, and I'm not entirely sure if this will turn out that way, because also the other thing to keep in mind is that Apple has sort of like held the iPhone behind because of the Lightning connector. So something that's a downgrade compared to what is potentially possible with USB-C might still be meeting or exceeding what iPhones can already do. I think the iPhones, they max out at 15 watts over Lightning, I'm pretty sure. So if they still hit that with USB-C, like a normal, cable and charger, that's fine for me. Like I obviously I would like it if they went further, but even Samsung, they don't charge at the maximum speed pretty much all the time because it will kill the battery and there's no point.
Yeah.
So, like I was having this discussion the other day where someone was like, "Oh yeah, the S23 does like up to 45 watt charging." Like, no, it really doesn't. It's if your battery's at 0, it might stay at that for a couple minutes and then it's going to go back to a normal charging rate.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how this is going to shake out. If it's at least comparable to what we're getting with Lightning, I don't have like a huge reason to be upset. The thing that people were freaking out before that I thought was sillier than this was that Apple might keep like the base iPhones might be like USB 2 or something, which is all the Lightning ports right now are USB 2.
Yeah.
And also like most Android phones are still USB 2 because no one cares about like wired transferring data all that much. That's the thing you do when you're like doing a backup or a transfer for most people. Yeah, I you could make the argument it matters more for Apple when they're trying to push the iPhone as like part of this connected camera experience, and I've heard many times that trying to dump 4K video from like an iPhone Pro over Lightning is a nightmare. So I kind of hard to get annoyed at the USB 2 thing. It should be, all this should be 3 at this point, but that's cost cutting for you.
So I'm gonna kind of argue both devil's advocate and whatever the opposite of that is. To some extent, yeah. I mean, the vast majority of things that people would want to do, the difference between USB 2 and USB 3 in terms of practical real-world scenarios, very, very limited. I mean, if somebody is flashing new ROMs all the time, all right, I could see why you might want USB 3 for that. Because, I mean, is it going to speed it up a ton? Not really, but it'll shave off seconds where you're paying attention and actively using it, so it'd be nice. But for the vast majority of things, the amount of time it's going to take for you to transfer a few files or to do any small operation, it's pretty trivial. The counterpoint to that is, quite literally when it's not trivial. Like Apple has been hyping up like using an iPhone to film enough footage to make like a movie, or like to be a regular vlogger just with your iPhone, things like that. And every single person who's ever tried doing this with an iPhone has said the same thing. That experience is so bad using a Lightning cable that they usually just try to go wireless, and that's not good either. There's really no scenario where it's good to actually do that. So, for situations like that where you actually want to use and would really genuinely benefit from that kind of speed increase, it makes a big difference. And in fairness, I don't know necessarily that their flash speeds are going to even be able to fill the 20 gigabit per second transfer. I wouldn't be surprised. That's not unheard of, but I doubt it. But in the hypothetical that they can even come close to that, anything over the 480 megabit per second speeds of USB 2 is going to be a huge increase. Like anything will be better than transferring presumably many gigabytes of data just because. Like, that's such a huge amount of data that you might be transferring in footage, and you can fill like, oh, I can't remember what the bitrate to data speeds are right now. I'm very sleep deprived, sorry. But like, you can fill an iPhone in a few hours if you're recording at the top quality, top bitrate.
Right.
It doesn't take, honestly, I'm not even sure, few hours is the right way to put it, but you can fill it reasonably quickly, and the time it would take to offload that data is really long. So yeah, USB 3 would make a huge difference in that.
Yeah, and the rumor mill is still saying that the regular iPhone 15 will be 2.0 and the Pros will be 3.2. So yeah, I almost never do the wired thing. It's sort of the same thing as a lot of other smartphone arguments where, like, yeah, I didn't use the physical headphone jack all that much, but like I would still like to have it as an option. And the phone costs, like, next iPhone, we'll just say $800. Like, it should have that. That's not that expensive to put in. So I kind of feel the same about USB, where it'd be nice. I'd probably use it sometimes. It should just be there for how much these things cost. Kind of the same thing with charging. Again, I've always been weird about charging, where I don't fast charge really anything. But obviously it's good to have it, because there could be an emergency situation where you have a functioning power source for like 30 minutes and you just need, or less.
I was going to say like 5 minutes.
Yeah, you need to, or yeah, like you're going to work, you realize you didn't plug in your phone, you're going to work in 5 minutes, it's at 14%. So like stuff like that, like it should have the faster charging.
I can't wait for this to be a movie plot. An event in a movie, like two people get kidnapped and they desperately need to get a message out, and it's like, I can plug in my phone for 30 seconds. Yeah. And lo and behold, it's like OnePlus is super fast VOOC charging, and holy crap, we've got half our battery back. Good, we're great.
Yeah. And I was reading this summary to make sure I wasn't lying. This summary said that the current iPhone 14 supports up to 20 watts of charging, while the Pro models go up to 27 watts. So, yeah, and also a valid argument is, like, they're supposedly not really doing any of this on iPads, which have had USB-C for forever.
iPads and iMacs, yeah, they don't do any of this stuff. It is all, the charging is all basically USB PD at whatever was appropriate for that particular device. That being said, they're all USB, or wait, I believe the iPads are USB 2. I might be wrong on that. I did not.
The iPad Pros are Thunderbolt 4 now.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. And of course, all the MacBooks. Yeah. Well, all the Macs. Yeah. Those are all.
They're gonna be 3 or 4. Yeah.
So yeah, they're doing this just to the iPhones, and it is. I mean, very. By any objective definition, this is very clearly just a profit-seeking scam. But it's one that they can pull off, and it's one that's going to work. Now, I will give a bit of a. This is the smallest of grantings, but I will grant a phone is a bit of a different beast than an iPad or a Mac. It is a more compact device. The way that its battery is going to be pushed is harder on the battery. And so you do technically want a few more of those safeguards in place.
Right.
That would be a credible argument. I will grant that,
And
because
and
exploding batteries
USB-C, yeah, and USB-C does need some safeguards. It's a mess.
Yeah.
It's not good. we really fucked this up.
Oh God. Well, we didn't. There's a few companies.
That's true.
That did.
Everyone else. I'm blameless. I haven't personally messed with USB-C.
I feel like not only am I blameless on this, I sort of want to claim credit for having been one of the people early on who said, no, the rollout of USB-C, the way it is happening, is terrible. We should not be doing it this way. Please stop. Obviously, no one listened to me. But yeah, I had many complaints about it right from day one.
Yeah.
In fact,
So,
there's an
I mean,
Android
like,
Police podcast historical episode where I kind of bag on it, while everyone else was mad at me.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure how to feel about this yet. If it just depends on how much of a stupid inconvenience this is. Because again, like if it's comparable to what I get right now from Lightning, fine. You know, I'd like faster would be good. But I understand if they want to have more safeguards on, you know, like you said, the battery that's getting rapidly charged and discharged, probably more than any electronic you have. And so, but if it's something like the charging speed drops to like a trickle, if like you don't have the Apple charger with the Apple cable, that's going to be more infuriating.
I'm expecting it to land kind of in between the two. I think it's going to be better than a trickle. Like, you know, if you plug it in at night on a regular cable and charger, I think by morning it's definitely going to be charged to full. I wouldn't expect it to be bad in this regard. But yeah, I have a feeling it's probably going to be like artificially slowed down, and they want you to feel like you have to go buy something.
Yeah, and that's the detail that's sort of missing here, where the original report, like if you go look at it on Medium, it's just them talking about how the charging speed will be optimized for MFi stuff. There's no data right now about like where, you know, how far can you get with non-Wi-Fi stuff. So yeah, I'm not sure. So we'll see. But I mean, like I'm probably gonna get the USB-C iPhone, because Lightning's real bad, but I don't really know if I want another Android phone. So, which is a shame. Like I mean, I do like the SE, but I really do not like Lightning. It's really bad. I don't like the 2 Lightning things I've had to buy already. Of course, I had to buy the headphone adapter, and I think I had enough cables laying around. I think I might have bought 1 cable, but it's not good. So yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say about that. Just
yeah, no, I think I'm done on that one too.
Yeah.
The simple thing is also it's still March. We've got many months before Apple releases this phone, and I think in the meantime there will be more to learn. In that time, Apple can also choose maybe to augment its plans in some sort of way to make them a little bit more practical, a little more reasonable. Or they might decide to be even bigger dicks about it. We'll have to see. But
yeah,
one of the key things historically, pretty much all of this stuff can also be changed with firmware updates. So, you know, if Apple pisses off enough people, chances are they can just ship out a firmware update that will just turn it up and say, yeah, you know what? We realize we can give a little bit more leeway. So here, have 2 to 5 more watts on your charging. And lo and behold,
Right.
yeah, hey, no one will care. Like, it'll all be fine then. Who knows?
Or they do what Tesla does, where it's like, oh, are you in a hurricane zone? All right, you can charge your iPhone a little faster now.
Yeah.
That'd be terrible. But yeah, like I don't. It frustrates me the way most places cover stuff like this, because charging speed already like isn't. It's not really how it's advertised. Like again, like Samsung does not hit the charging speeds they advertise. I don't know what OnePlus is up to these days, but their entire thing was like completely proprietary until pretty recently. Like Kirby said in the chat, like now the latest ones can do up to 30 watts on a normal USB-C charger. So this is a lot more like complicated than I think a lot of people talk about it, and especially in this report, like the original report is mostly just talking about how Apple is boosting production of its USB-C charger, and a lot of people are running with the assumption of like, oh, you'll need that. That's why they're boosting, because that's the only thing that works. Like, no, I'm sure it's because a lot of people right now, that everyone has the Lightning phones. I'm sure a lot of people are still using the older charger in Apple's that Apple came out originally, where it was the USB Type A port with a USB A to Lightning cable, because that's what they sold for years. So I'm sure they're boosting production of that, because the next iPhone they're going to toss a USB-C to C cable in there maybe. So you might need a new brick for that. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit more, I don't know. It's important to like actually read what they're saying and not try to see something that isn't there. And that's not to show for Apple, just like in general. It's hard to take, changes in production and frame that in a different way. So you just gotta be careful with some of this stuff. You don't want to get your hopes up or get them dashed for reasons that don't matter. Kirby said, I would prefer Google to go to 45 watts on the Pixel 8 Pro. I mean, yeah, like again, the fast charging is complicated because like obviously it should be there, but like it does kind of kill the battery faster, so it needs to be handled in a different way than a lot of how this is being handled. Because also the other thing is like, this is like one of the worst specs wars, where a lot of companies are just obsessed with being as fast as possible, and it doesn't matter if you're cutting the lifespan of the phone much shorter. You just need to get the higher number. Sort of in the same way that of like overclocking PCs, where it's like I got the higher, I got the higher number on the benchmark. Oh, my PC might explode at some point, but it's fine.
Yeah, I agree on that. It's a little bit like the old megapixel wars of digital cameras, and and so many other things where the practical reality is they're marketing a number, and that number is only true in laboratory settings, or only true for, as we discussed, a minute or two or whatever, while it's charging the battery at its lowest point. Just like you might be able to technically take a picture that is 105 megapixel with your camera, but the reality is that's not how it's supposed to be used. It will probably not be a very good picture, and you're wasting your time doing it. So
again, like if they can technically, if Google can technically shove like 100-watt charging in the Pixel 8 Pro, that's great. That's going to be really great for emergencies. But I don't.
As long as it doesn't really cause new emergencies.
Right. Oh, my house is flooded. Now my phone's on fire.
Yeah. Well, on the plus side, it blew open a hole in the wall, so your flooding house will no longer flood to the roof, I guess. Or you can escape through the flood. I don't know. I'm not sure where this is going, but the joke is made.
Yeah. And Kirby said they've been doing C to Lightning since the iPhone 12, and Sort of. Like they've been throwing USB-C to Lightning cables in the box, but they've been selling the charger separately for forever. So my hunch is that a huge chunk of, I don't know if I'd say, I mean, I'd say probably majority. I don't know to what extent, is probably still using an old brick with an old cable that came with their old iPhone, because they might not have the USB-C adapter, which is why Apple is reportedly boosting production. So that would be my guess. Also, because like again, most people aren't paying like super close attention to the charging speeds with this stuff. They're just like, is it the USB the USB A to Lightning is still like okay, so it's good enough. People aren't gonna buy a new brick if they don't have to.
Yeah.
And also that's getting more use out of the electronic instead of tossing it in the bin. So good for those people.
Yeah. So
and, with that, I'm gonna go now because I'm hungry and tired.
yeah. All right. Well, is there anything you want to pitch or bring up, Ollie Tech Tales?
Yeah, go listen to Tech Tales at, is it Tech Tales Show? TechTalesShow.com. Cody's there a lot. We just got to part 8 of our series on Internet Explorer.
Which almost
still not
feels like a joke, but no.
It's gonna get to 10 parts, almost assuredly. I don't know how much beyond that, because we're at like 2011 right now. We've got like one or two major versions left, plus like the first Edge, which was just IE. So there's more stuff. I haven't decided if I want to talk about like
the Switch to
Internet Explorer
Chromium.
on X. Yeah, well, I don't think I need to. I don't think I need to go into any detail about that. But like, there was a bunch of auxiliary IE stuff. Like, at some point, like IE shows up on Xbox consoles, that kind of thing. So, I don't know how much I want to talk about that stuff. But
Right.
We'll see. But that's going on. I've got another one that's recorded. I haven't edited at all yet. And we're slowly approaching the 2-year mark for Tech Tales, which I think is in June. So exciting stuff.
Indeed. Yeah. So go give it a listen. Yep. One of these days we'll presumably do maybe some more movies, I guess. Or not.
Yeah, I gotta figure out the movies, because I need to. I really want to do Tron and Tron Legacy, ideally with the same people for both. And I know you want to do movies, and I know one person I mentioned I was probably going to do Tron, and they were like, "Please let me on that one." So I need to work out like that and other movies. But yeah, the movies end up being more work than I thought, because I'm like, oh great, I don't have to research anything. It's like shit, I have to watch a movie and take notes like it's school. What's going on?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it always ends up being more work than I imagine.
Yeah, well.
And also whenever the one for Tron Legacy comes out, that's gonna be like a 4-hour recording. I'm gonna go out. It's gonna be intolerable. No one will want to listen to it.
Very possibly.
But this is important for me. It's my thing.
It's
I get to decide how much of myself I edit out.
It's actually funny how any podcast that analyzes movies, almost invariably, the topic or the discussions always last longer than the actual movie. I listened to there was this one podcast I listened to a long time ago. They decided to spend an episode reviewing every single James Bond movie. they watched and reviewed every James Bond movie, and holy crap, every episode was like, well, I don't know exactly. I really don't know. Maybe they weren't this long, but every single one of them felt like it was like a good 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah. And it's also very dependent on the format. Like with Tech Tales, I edit out a lot of dead space and and a lot of the ones that usually do that kind of like pop culture stuff. It's much more not as heavily edited. So I don't know. I'll see. Have you seen any of the Trons?
I think I've seen all of them. I think.
Okay.
I know I saw the original. I saw the first remake, or if you'd call it a remake, a reboot, whatever.
Yeah, Tron Legacy. It was like both. It was a sequel reboot thing.
Right. I don't think that there was another one that came after, right?
No, those are the only two Trons.
Okay, then I've seen both.
Okay. That's good. I ideally need to have it. It helps that you haven't seen that recently, because it'd be good to have someone who hasn't watched it too many times and has too much to say.
Yeah, we could talk about this. To be fair, I didn't think either of them were that great. So
that's fine. Like, it's dissenting opinion is important. Because if it's just me talking about how much I like it for 3 hours, that might be more intolerable.
Yeah. Well, we could I could see us getting into disagreements. Mm-hmm. I won't call them arguments, but I could see us getting into a lot of disagreements over this, because I mean, I didn't hate either of them. I just
the episode is just like, Corbin, have you considered watching good movies? And I'm gonna be like, no.
I mean, you bring that up, but here I am. I keep saying we need to watch Antitrust. It's just like, it is objectively bad movie.
That's in the list. Yeah, that's
the
in the list.
Acting in that movie is just so comically terrible, and some of the storyline elements are just outright dumb. But I keep insisting we need to watch it, in part because we're talking Microsoft so much right now, but also, I don't know. You mentioned it once, and I haven't watched it in basically since it came out, and I kind of feel like it's now or never.
Yeah, that's definitely. I want to do the Trons. We'll do that. I don't know when. At some point. Because I also do want to like space out the movie episodes, because I don't, just like I'm trying to space out the IE stuff with the other stuff. Like, I don't know who cares about like what exactly, but definitely want to do that. I still haven't seen The Social Network, so I feel like at that point I just need to save that for a Tech Tales movie.
That one's actually a decent movie.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that one's a pretty good movie.
I wouldn't call it phenomenal. I think it got overhyped, but I actually did like it.
Yeah.
Well, I liked it in the time. I don't know how I would feel about it now.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in the movie list. There's a bunch of stuff in the list of normal topics that have been there for like 2 years. I haven't got to yet because I've spent over half a year on Internet Explorer. so that's it's good. There's always more in the tank, I guess. And now that NFT. Yeah, I mean, now that NFTs are pretty much dead now, like that's potentially a topic.
I feel like there's so much more dumbassery waiting to happen with that, but
there's gonna be, but the 3 months of hype has long since passed.
I mean,
I haven't seen more segments of the Jimmy Kimmel show where they're showing off apes, so we're definitely past that era. At least.
That's fair, but Logan Paul has moved on to a whole second NFT scam that is the exact same as his first NFT scam, but literally just a different one.
Definitely an ongoing situation.
So yeah, I feel like there's still way more to go.
Yeah, if this was a true crime podcast, we could talk about the murder. But there's still the the court case is undetermined.
And also, fair warning, just remember, when you finally do cover NFTs, you're going to have to spend like hours watching CoffeeZilla.
Yeah.
So good luck with that. Actually, I've never watched him. I don't know if he's interesting or not, but
I've watched some of his stuff. I think he's really good at like the investigative journalism stuff, and he's a pretty good presenter. I just really don't like some of his opinions.
I think I actually did watch one of his videos, very specifically one, and it was him catching somebody, and he like half of the video was actually working with someone else who did a lot of the talking on the videos. So it was definitely cut down.
He's good at what he does, and then he occasionally has like a bad take, or I saw just recently he went on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I'm like, oh man, you didn't need to do that.
Yeah, look, I know
you gotta play, but
I have no love for Rogan, but at the same time, there is the very famous trend where you go on his show and your follower count just skyrockets.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Especially now that I don't know if he's still locked down by Spotify or not. I assume that deal's over.
I thought he was still with them.
Maybe. Or he's allowed to post more video stuff, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I would have sworn that it was a whole like will they won't they split up kind of story, and then there just stopped being news. Like everyone stopped talking about Rogan all at once. Well, it probably helps that I really don't watch Twitter trending topics anymore, but yeah, it just seemed like he fell off the news cycle, and no one talked about him since, which has been great.
I think it helps that there's been crazier people to talk about. So,
well, and I think it helps a lot that people are leaving Twitter at a pretty consistent rate too.
Yeah. And speaking of leaving, I'm gonna leave now. So.
All right.
Goodbye, everyone.
Well, take it easy. Glad to have you by, and hopefully have you next week.
Yes. Goodbye.
Okay, so glad y'all stuck around through that, but I'm gonna call it semi-bad news in that I'm only going to really spend a moment talking about one more topic, and I'm gonna do a quick slam through on three others, just to note that they happen. First up, the SEC is suing a whole crapload of people, including a bunch of celebrities, because they were endorsing a crypto without admitting that they were getting paid a crapload for doing it. But some of the people on the list are Lindsay Lohan, Jake Paul, Soulja Boy, Neo, Akon, which, seriously, who knew Akon was still around? Like, I thought he just fell off the map, but I guess not. Lil Yachty, which is kind of hilarious. Anyway, so, yeah, bunch of people getting sued. It's a thing. And all this for this guy, Justin Sun. He's been running scams left and right. That's just kind of his shtick. I'm not going to say any more on this. I just thought it was kind of funny. It's another crypto scam that's getting burned. Which basically just, like, how many crypto scams can there be that are going to get burned? Before people catch on, at least. Next thing, Logitech is cutting 300 jobs because, shockingly, after the pandemic, people bought a bunch of webcams and keyboards and other stuff for their homes, and then once they had them, they didn't need to buy more. So Logitech's big boom has ended, and they're cutting more people than they hired, I believe. So yeah, that's a thing. Kind of just, I don't know. I'm not sure what to say about this except for Logitech's always kind of behind the curve. You know, everyone else was doing this 2 months ago. Now Logitech's like, oh, can we get in on this? We'll cut some people. We swear. Someone pay attention to us. That's the most I'm gonna say about it. That being said, sorry for the 300 people who are not going to be working at Logitech anymore, and also congratulations on not working at Logitech anymore. This sounds actually like a win for you guys, even if it's going to be a little rough up front. Then, oh, sorry, it was only those two things. And then the final topic, I want to just do a quick call out for the people who worked at DP Review. For those that don't know, you didn't maybe see this in Discord. Amazon is going to be cutting another large batch of employees, 9,000 this time. This follows I think it was 13,000 that were cut like 2 months ago. This time, of the 9,000 that they're cutting, they are cutting 100% of the staff from dpreview.com. For those that don't know, Amazon bought DP Review, I don't know how many years ago. It was a few years ago. And basically they bought them kind of for the purpose of dumping some of their content into like the like camera listings on the Amazon site, and then just in general to have, I guess, maybe like an experiment in going into owning content sites. I'm not really sure what their logic was. Regardless, they mostly, to their credit, kind of left DP Review to operate as it operates. They didn't really mess with it that much. So, setting them largely different than almost every other corporate overlord. Unfortunately, out of this huge 9,000 person cut, they are killing off DP Review, which means the site is going to be shutting down April 10th. It will go into read-only mode, so the articles aren't going away. Presumably the forum probably is going to stick around, maybe, but I don't know about that. And yeah, so this kind of sucks. I feel for these guys. I know something about crappy corporate overlords. You know, it happens. They come along, they buy the place you work for, and they do dumb things. And to quote the guy who eventually one day would go on to play Agent Coulson in the Marvel franchise, when he made a couple episode appearance in the show Sports Night, a very old Aaron Sorkin show, fantastic show, by the way. Not quite as good as The Newsroom, but it was really solid and a great inspiration for The Newsroom. But to quote the character played by Agent Coulson, if you can't make money with Sports Night, you should get out of the money-making business. And that's kind of the story with DP Review. This is such a incredibly popular and well-respected site. I mean, not to say that it is necessarily the best or best at everything, but a lot of people do recognize it as probably one of the best when it comes to articles and reviews in the photography industry. The fact that they are shutting this down demonstrates that they have no concept of what they should be doing. I don't know that DP Review is necessarily profitable, but if it's not, it can only be explained that it's not profitable due to grossly poor decisions on how to profit from it. Because as long as you don't mess with it too much, you can make some small tweaks and make it extraordinarily profitable. It is pretty well known that this has a very, very high view count on this site. And for those that may not believe this because you think that maybe the photography industry doesn't draw that many people. Look, I'll just say the announcement only came yesterday, and they're already rocking on just their post about shutting down. And actually, they've got 2 posts about shutting down, but just on this one, they've got 3,347 comments. And we're just talking comments. The views are obviously much higher. They're a popular site. Like, it's hard to understate how popular DP Review is among the photography industry, and that's a fairly large industry. That being said, for anyone who cares about this, and I honestly doubt anybody here does, but the 2 main players in their YouTube channel, Chris Nichols, who you'll see here in the background, it's this guy who you can't really tell so much from these pictures, but very Canadian. And he enjoys highlighting his Canadianness, his Canadianity. I don't know. I'm trying something with that. Anyway, he and I forget the name of the other guy, but they are apparently going to be moving their show over to Petapixel. That is, I would say, probably the second most popular and well-known photography site. So that's good news. They are, to say that they are landing on their feet very, very efficiently and very effectively is an understatement. I'm betting Petapixel is just thrilled that this is happening because it will send a whole lot of stuff their way. That being said, I'm sure there are plenty of other people from DP Review that may have maybe either headed over to Petapixel or possibly over to F-Stoppers or one of the other couple of well-known sites. Regardless, Amazon is doing a dumb thing. They screwed up here, and they let go of some pretty good, talented people. And I'm expecting to see them not regret this, but there will be probably in the future a lot of people calling this out as one of the dumb things Amazon has done, and it's not going to shine very brightly for Amazon. Carson asking, why did Amazon even acquire them? Truthfully, I don't know. Like I said before, my theory, or well, not even a theory, it was known. Part of what their intention was, it was to take DP Review articles and some of the like videos that they produce and put them right into the listings on Amazon pages. So if you went to go see a camera on there, let's just say, I was about to name off a Canon camera. We'll say Canon R5. That way I'm not calling out my system. But let's say you went to go look at a Canon R5. Then they might have... Actually, let's see if they have this. Alright, let's just pop into this one. And yes, those prices are entirely real. If we scroll down a bit, probably got to get closer to the bottom, I suppose. In theory, somewhere around here, they were supposed to have, and I guess they don't. Do they? They were supposed to have some DP Review, like, articles or videos somewhere down near the bottom. I guess they either don't have them anymore, or maybe they never put them there. I'm not really sure. But yeah, that was actually a very big... that was a very big factor, supposedly, in why they acquired DP Review. Because cameras are big money, and Amazon has become a very major part of the camera like buying Realm. And considering there's a very good markup on selling cameras, like, it makes sense. Carson, how come you don't want to call out your system? Actually, there's no good reason. I feel like I shouldn't. Like, it feels like it, I don't know. I feel obligated to, like, call out every system just because. Because I really like Sony. That's what I use. It made a lot of sense when I bought it. There was a few years where I would argue Sony ceased to be the thing that I would recommend to people, just because of very specific features that existed. And honestly, that was more for video only. If you're a photo person, like, I would have still sent you to Sony. If you're going for video, there were other companies I might send you to for about 2 to 3 years. Now I'm back to saying, no, just go get Sony. Screw it. Like, to me, I think Sony's the big winner in both photo and video, as long as you're not going to go for like a hardcore video first camera. And even then, I might still send people to Sony. But you know, I don't know. I feel like to be fully objective and everything, I feel like I should sometimes call out the others too. Anyway, so yeah, I really don't understand Amazon's logic on acquiring them. The best explanation maybe is that they were also around that time. I remember there was some rumor that Amazon wanted to get into owning more sites that were kind of like content generators. In theory, like, you know, they wanted to invest in and be part of that ecosystem. I think it's good that they didn't, because holy crap, would that have just made things even worse. And can you imagine every buyer's guide being just Amazon links? Oh wait, that's already how it always is. But you wouldn't even have, like, so many sites wouldn't even have the few links that they do have to, like, B&H or Autorama or, well, those are the camera stores, but Best Buy. Like, a lot of sites still link to Best Buy. None of that would happen. It would all just be Amazon links. But anyway, so with all this said, I don't know. I don't have a lot to say past this point, but I think this is just going to be looked down as one of the dumber things Amazon has done. And it's in a small way, but I think it's indicative of lots of bad decisions, and that's the significance here. We're seeing one very clear, specific atomic example of a really bad decision, and you gotta assume really dumb stuff just like this is happening all over the company. Kind of like, you know, all the stories that we've heard that apparently Amazon cut virtually all of the Alexa team. Obviously, there are still people there, but they cut a large swath of the Alexa staff, and what logic does... I mean, I can understand cutting some of it, but the way it's been reported, it sounds like they got rid of way too many people, and Alexa is probably just going to be in maintenance mode for a long time, and that's probably not a good plan either. That leaves me thinking Alexa is probably on a path to becoming the next Twitter in its, like, inevitable failure. But anyway, so yeah, that's where I'm going to end it today. I'm going to end it before I start nodding off, which, let's be honest, has kind of quasi happened before. So let's see. This weekend I should be doing some game streams. It's gonna be some Fall Guys stuff. There is a chance that I might do a photo shoot. I've got a brand new review unit here for a NAS. That is, I know, a very unexciting product, but you know, I might come up with something interesting for a photo shoot. Anyway, so there will definitely be some Fall Guys though, because I've got 3 days I have to do in order to finish out the season. So yeah, I'll squeeze 2 of them in this weekend most likely. Let's see, is there anything else? As usual, if anyone would like to help support the channel, there are links down below to Streamlabs, Cash App, and Patreon. Let's see, is there anything else? I don't think so. So with that, thanks everyone for coming by, hanging out. Yeah, NAS photo shoot. It is an odd one, but hey, why not? I've done it before. But thanks everyone for coming by, hanging out, and being part of the conversation. I will be back with you this weekend for some game streams, and next week for another RambleCast. But with that, good night, everybody.